Good evening and welcome. You are tuned in and watching the Zone Blitz. This is the weekly Tuesday night webcast produced by NFL Female, www.nflfemale. Be sure to jump on our website and check out all the latest and greatest from all of our women who contribute not only for the 32 NFL teams, but for conferences and divisions. And I am Sharona. I cover the entire NFL, the entire National Football League for NFL Female. As always, I'm joined by my wonderful co-host Sonja. I will kick it over to her to get us started.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sonja. I'm the official fan reporter for NFL Female for the Detroit Lions, the up-and-coming Detroit Lions. Don't get it twisted. But as always, I'm glad to be here tonight to talk some football. And since, of course, Lions aren't playing, we get to talk conference championship and things like that. But first of all, I have to welcome our wonderful guest, the Diva herself, Pam. Pam, thank you so much for coming on and joining us. We always love to have you on just because you're so much fun.
Thank you guys. Thanks so much for having me on. I always love coming on with you guys.
Yes, because we have a lot of fun and we talk some good stuff.
We do. Always a lot of fun.
Yeah, I like to think so.
Oh, yeah, totally. And we're totally glad that, the diva that you are always able to fit us in whatever our request is. So we really do appreciate that.
Oh, well, you are so welcome. You know that you guys always will fit into my diva schedule.
You are the best. That's why we love you. All right, guys. Let's get to it. So it was championship weekend.
It was.
It was championship weekend. For those of you who don't know, Sharona was down there covering the NFC games, so we can get her take on things. But it was a good weekend. We'll start with you, Pam. What do you think? What do you think about the weekend?
I actually was a little surprised on both games. Didn't really think that Arizona was going to be as terrible as they were.
Right.
I didn't think they'd play as badly. And it's funny because, like, the Green Bay game against Arizona, I had tweeted out something about Carson Palmer, and I got so many tweets that are like, oh my God, well, Carson Palmer is just turning into a pumpkin. And it's like, I really just felt like this was his best shot to get to the Super Bowl and possibly win it, just because he had such a talented team surrounding him. So even though I'm not saying Carson Palmer is an Aaron Rodgers type quarterback or anything, I always felt that he was better than he played on Sunday.
Yes. Completely agree. Yes. And they are, there is a suggestion. Now, Bruce Arians sort of shot this down. Bruce Arians does not like anyone criticizing his quarterback. That's his quarterback, T.O. Tears.
Right.
But, it does look like Carson Palmer had a finger injury, in week 17, 16, 17, and it does look like it's affecting him. His play in the playoffs was not good. And his play in that game was awful. Five turnovers, 2 lost fumbles, 3 interceptions. It was not good.
No.
Yeah.
Not at all. You're not winning any Super Bowls with that stat line. Just saying.
Funny thing is, when I had tweeted that out, that's exactly why team in Cincinnati to the Super Bowl because of Carson Palmer, and like completely blamed everything on the shoulders of Palmer. And I kind of took a little exception to that. I understood where the conversation was going, but at the same time, it was just like, well, you can't put all the blame on Carson Palmer at that point, and I'm not buying that Marvin Lewis now because of that play on Sunday by Carson Palmer.
Yeah. No, I agree. The Arizona Cardinals offensive line had been pretty fantastic throughout the course of the season. They were having difficulty dealing with a Carolina Panthers defense that's very good.
Yeah.
It's very, very good.
Yeah.
There were some drops by some wide receivers. Larry Fitzgerald had one, maybe two. Those things are going to happen though. But the bottom line, and the Patrick Peterson muff was awful because it came, if I remember correctly, right after Arizona had scored, and then
Hmm.
then they had held Carolina to a 3-and-out. And it was at that point you thought momentum might be starting to shift back to Arizona, and it was just a dumb decision by Patrick Peterson, just an absolutely dumb decision. So they were just never able to recover from that point. It was,
No, they weren't. And so, the Carson Palmer was not good, and I almost wonder, did Carson Palmer lose the game, or was Carolina's defense just that good that was making him be that errant with it? You see what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that Carson Palmer was average to maybe below average. I think we lost Pam. Oh, there she is. And and Carolina's
Yep.
defense is just
I'm right
that
here.
good. Pam,
Yeah.
what do you think? Pam, what do you think? Was Carson Palmer that bad, or is Carolina's defense that good?
I think it was a combination of both. I really just think that Carolina's defense is that good. I mean, I love Luke Kuechly for one. I think he's an outstanding player. I loved Thomas Davis. I just think that Carolina's defense has been playing consistent all and had much of really kind of a backslide to think that they're that good combined with a lot of really aches on Palmer's part. I mean, obviously, like you had said, he had that injury to his finger, but all to blame. And I think it's a testament to Bruce Arians as well for not benching him and letting him. I think that if
Yeah.
he kind of pulled him, even though they had no shot at winning the game at that point, I
Mhm.
think him leaving him in there kind of said everything it needed to say that he was standing behind Carson Palmer no matter what.
I thought it was a terrible decision. Once the game got out of control, no, once the game got out of control,
Yeah.
Carson Palmer should not have been in that football game at all.
Mhm.
What if he, with the
I think
way,
it was Arians.
yeah, I mean, but what if, with the offensive line struggling to contain Carolina's defense, what if
Yeah.
Carson Palmer had suffered another ACL or, another significant injury? I mean, I think at that point, it, early in the fourth quarter, it was what, I forget when Carolina scored that last touchdown to make it. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I understand what you're trying to say, Pam. I'm just thinking for long term for Carson Palmer, and I want him
Yeah.
to come back, and I want them to make another run next year because there's only so much time left for him and for Larry Fitzgerald.
Yeah, they're
Agreed.
on
Yeah.
they're on the clock, and hopefully they can. I think it was a good little twist. I think having Arizona good this year, and
Yeah.
really challenging in their division, and like they kind of ran away with their division, and they really went to town on Green Bay in the regular season.
Yeah.
And so, like, I like that Arizona. That was great. That was great, and I hope that they can keep it up just for Larry Fitz's sake, and
Mhm.
even Carson Palmer, just to kind of, give him a little bit of redemption, maybe.
Yeah.
But another thing that I really want to kind of talk about a little bit is Cam Newton, the other quarterback.
Yeah.
And I just want to say that I think it's good that they've actually developed him
Mhm.
and made him into the quarterback that he is today. And I think that that's really good because you don't really see that often, in the NFL anymore. And people are ready to switch quarterbacks, draft another one, things like that. but the fact that they were able to develop him and use his talents and, you know, make him to who he is, that to me says a lot, and I love that. That's been the thing that really has gotten me going this week. What do you guys think?
Pam, I'll let you go.
Start with you.
Have we lost Pam?
Did we lose Pam?
No.
Okay, good. Okay,
good. Okay. No, I did hear the back. I did hear the. I do think that the development of Cam is very important. I also think that it's also Cam that decided to take on that leadership role too, and he's grown into being and a team leader too. I think that has helped this Carolina team as well, is that he's actually taken ownership instead of pouting in certain situations that he's been known to do in, you know, years before. I think that the combination of the two are peaking at the right time. Kelvin Benjamin went down. All eyes did turn to Cam. They were just like, okay, what's he gonna do now? Because River is out. And I don't think that they really expected, you know, Ted Ginn to step up the way he did. A lot of the responsibility was going to be on Greg Olsen, but I don't think that they expected some of these receivers to step up the way they have.
Yeah, you know, Corey Brown, they were pretty high on him coming out of that first year. You didn't see a lot of him, but he was a guy, you know, quietly behind the scenes working hard. And, you know, Ted Ginn's interesting because Cam Newton is the only quarterback who's been able to make him look like an NFL caliber wide receiver. Now, he still he's had some drops, but for the most part, he's been outstanding. And they definitely have, you know, a special connection. And I agree with Pam. You know, Greg Olsen is a fantastic tight end, and you can't understate how important he is, you know, to that offense. And so, yeah, you know, the loss of Kelvin Benjamin, people were really talking about Carolina as not being able to compete this year. And, you know, Cam Newton's maturation, he's matured greatly. And, you know, he always was able to throw the ball, but he's definitely improved as a passer. And you know, it's been really hard for teams to handle his special combination of size, strength, his throwing arm, and his escapability outside the pocket.
Yep. So
right now Cam Newton is definitely the total package. He can take hits, and not only can he take hits, he gives them too.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. He has done a lot back there, and so I'm kind of proud to see his development. Now, let's move on to the other championship game where our friend and yours, Mr. Brady, like Sharona and I said last night, got his lunch money taken several times. Wow, the last rodeo.
Yeah.
I think that's what we'll be calling that game, the last rodeo, possibly.
Yep.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on that, Pam?
I was really surprised at the way that game went too. I know that New England going to Denver, something that scared some Patriot fans, but being in the New England area and having the benefit of listening to local sports talk radio, people were really booking their rooms in Santa Clara. Like, they just really expected the Patriots to go in there and be the bully and just kind of take advantage of Peyton Manning. They, under that Broncos D and how to perform, they were more focused on his arm has been very, and they didn't think he was going to even finish the game, where it was going to be Osweiler who was going to be the person finishing that back. So the Patriots defense, I thought, did a fantastic job. I thought Jamie Collins were outstanding. Tom Brady was shaken, rattled, and he was put to bed. He just was. I mean, I don't know if there's going to be enough like ice cream for him to heal his pain at this point.
Giselle will be taking him to her plastic surgeon.
Yeah, exactly. His health guru is going to have a lot of healing to do.
Yes, he is.
He would have been sore there today.
I was looking at him. I was hurt. I was like, oof. Oh, another one. Another, like, the whole DJ Khaled thing that's going around. Another one. I mean, it was just awful. I felt really bad. But, I had said earlier that if Denver was going to win, and I had that sinking suspicion, I was like, Peyton might be a little iffy, but he's still kind of rested, and still has some in him. And Denver's D balled all the way out, and I wasn't expecting them to ball all the way out. But if you get after Tom Brady like you did, then yeah, they've got a chance, and they had their chance, and they made the most of it. So I was kind of surprised, but not really. In the back of my mind, I figured that this could happen.
I was surprised. Denver went up early, and let me back up a little bit. As Sonja mentioned, I was in Charlotte covering the NFC Championship game, and I did not get to see the first quarter. I didn't see it all. I think that I got to the press box sometime in the second quarter, but I didn't really. By the time I got situated and was able to really watch the game, it was toward the end of the third quarter, and I got to see keep an eye on most of the fourth quarter. I did not expect, I wasn't giving Denver much of a chance. I said that it would have to be Denver's defense that kept them in the game. And so I was extremely impressed to see that they were able, the Broncos offense was able to do what it did, and I wasn't surprised really about Denver's defense. Sonja knows this. We've been talking about DeMarcus Ware all year. DeMarcus Ware is so bay. And, of course, Von Miller and Ethan Wolf, I think, is the other guy who, their front seven is fantastic. Maybe the best front seven, one of the best front sevens in the National Football League. They really missed DeMarcus Ware when he was out. Their defense had definitely slipped when he, missed a few games. I forget what kind of back injury, something. He had some kind of injury. It's interesting that Peyton's having this rodeo conversation, but it's they're going to be up against a Herculean task with the Carolina Panthers. I just don't know that anybody can stop the Panthers right now. I really don't.
I'm with you on that. I mean,
think so.
Vegas right now has the Panthers favored by 4.5.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know if that line actually is going to move up even. Yeah, they're favored by 4.5 right now. The Panthers.
Yeah.
Wow, it's going to be interesting. And then I think back again to Super Bowl 48. How Seattle's defense just dismantled the Broncos, and so it's just kind of, are we in for a repeat of that?
Maybe that was a preparation for this game, and Sonja mentioned, I think it was Sonja, maybe it was you, Pam. Thomas Davis says that he's going to play. They did have some rather significant injuries. Ryan Khalil left the game late in the fourth quarter with, I think a knee injury. Mike Tolbert had an injury. Who else was there? Were some other guys who left the game with injury. Oh, Roman Harper.
Yeah.
So, and their secondary is already banged up. They lost Peanut Tillman a few weeks ago. So, with the injury situation and everything else, we'll have to keep an eye on the injury situation, really, for both teams.
Yep. And Jared Allen with his foot, I do
Yes.
believe that was another one
Yes.
for the Panthers. But they were able to make it happen. But we shall see. I think that's going to be my biggest storyline going into the Super Bowl, is just how is Denver going to match up again against this ferocious defense. We saw it in 48. So, like you said, Sharona, did he learn? Has Peyton Manning learned? And it's a whole new coaching staff. So maybe they have.
Well, and the flip side to that is now, Carolina, played the Seahawks, but I think Denver's defense, well, statistically, Denver's defense is better than the Seahawks. Cam Newton hasn't faced a defense like Denver's either, and it'll be interesting to see. That matchup really intrigues me. The Denver defense against Superman. So I'm wearing my Batman T-shirt. I don't have a Superman T-shirt, so I'm wearing my Batman.
I don't have a Superman either, so I'll just have to stick with that.
Batman. Yeah.
Oh goodness, but yeah.
Is that the dab? Is that how you dab?
Something like that.
Like that.
Something like that. You're asking the wrong chica. But since we have Pam on here, I figured we could also kind of get into a little bit about the Giants as well. Take a little break from championship in the Super Bowl, and just kind of get your thoughts on the Giants and with their new coach. And what do you think is on the horizon for them next year in this NFC East?
Well, first they need to. Hopefully, McAdoo actually is going to manage the clock the way it's supposed to be managed. The Giants should have won quite a few football games more than they did. They should have to expect for this team this season. I mean, we can complain about that all we want, but it's not going to change the fact that they missed the playoffs again. I think that Eli performed better this year than he did last year, and I do think that he's very comfortable with the new system that he has going on. I really think that he does a very good job of taking his tight ends and wide receivers, regardless of how well they can perform, and he makes them look good. I don't really feel like he gets a lot of credit for making some receivers look better than they actually are. I think he has a knack for finding people in the right places when he's comfortable, and I do think that, they need to focus more on their defense than their offense. I'm not saying their offense is perfect, but as long as they can control the clock better, I'm not really going to be.
What did you think about the decision to move on from Tom Coughlin and go with Ben McAdoo?
I kind of figured that this was what was going to happen. I think that I didn't expect them to fire Coughlin, but it didn't surprise me the way everything went down. I personally would have maybe liked to have seen Coughlin stay one more year, but that's just kind of my old sentimentality because I do think he's a player's coach. I do think he's an old-time football coach. I like his style. I was very curious about him going and interviewing with the Eagles. I thought that was very curious to me.
Yes, it was.
So, yeah, it left a sour taste in my mouth, but it also let you know that this wasn't necessarily a Coughlin decision, more as the Giants allowing him to save face instead of firing him kind of decision.
I think Coach Coughlin made that clear at the press conference when he didn't even acknowledge Mr. Mara.
Yeah. Cold.
Yeah.
It was cold-blooded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was. It definitely was. So I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if he popped up somewhere else coaching this. The old excuse about being with his family and stuff. He was saying what he was supposed to say. He was put into a position where to say, and he did what he was supposed to. No saving his job. And the only thing that probably would have bought him one more year would have been the Giants at least making the playoffs. That didn't happen.
Yeah. Yeah, Pam, Ben McAdoo, listen, I'm familiar with him from the Packers. It took 2 years, really, a year and a half, for Eli Manning to get comfortable. His system, to me, has really never been proven to be all that successful. I was not, I was a little bit befuddled by all the love for him as a potential head coaching candidate. I'm not a fan of the hire. What do you think of it?
I think they put him as the hire because I just think that they want this system to work so badly. And I think that there are weaknesses in the Giants' offensive system as far as, for me, I don't feel that their running game is that strong, and the passing game isn't really going to be that some type of running game going. The Andre Williams experiment I don't think worked. I don't really think that he fits right now well with this team, and to kind of have a little bit more of a better answer for running game. I don't think that they really have a good one right now. And when they've been successful, they did have like that 1-2 punch of a running game, and they really don't seem to have that anymore. And them a little bit. So I don't necessarily think that it's going successful without having the missing ingredient that they've always had in the past.
Yeah, and that brings another point that I was making when all this was going down. Does Jerry Reese have photos? I mean, how is that dude? Does he still have it? How does he still have a job?
Still employed?
Yeah.
I have no idea. You know, I'm very surprised that, and I'm not sure if this is going to be another test year for him. I mean, he really hasn't done a whole lot to help this team either. And it almost seems to the point where it was either Coughlin or Reese. It was one or the other. I think both of them should have actually have been gone. Like I said, I would have liked to have seen Coughlin get one more year, but that was my own, sentimental kind of way of thinking. One more, and he obviously got that last year. That was his last shot, and I was surprised Reese wasn't let go either to find a replacement for him.
What's the future for JPP?
I'm not sure. Maybe there's some dirt he has, and that's why he still has a job.
Probably.
I didn't think he was. Yeah, I don't know this kind of thing where they're going to have people babysitting him to make sure that he doesn't continue terrible behavior. I'm still going to be a part of this team. I think actually when he came back, he helped out a little bit with a spark instead of hurting them. I really don't think that.
Yeah, except that that there was that one time
I don't know if JPP is going to go anywhere.
Yeah, he missed a tackle dreadfully because he didn't have a hand to grab a guy. It was just
I'm sorry.
I mean, I'm just saying.
It's true. It is true.
Yeah.
It is true. And at what point does he become more of a liability to the defense than an actual asset?
I don't. It's like. Yeah.
I don't know, Pam, you're cutting in and out, and I'm having a hard time hearing what you're saying.
No, there we go.
Okay, there she is.
Okay, that's. I blocked out for a minute. I think that okay, there we go. That's better.
Having some technical difficulties with Miss Sporty Diva.
Okay, what was the last part of the question? Yes.
Oh, I don't know. What do you make of Rashad Jennings? I think that he's a pretty good running back when he's healthy. They need another guy besides him. Is Shane Vereen the other guy they have running
Yes.
back?
I think that I think that he is a good. Don't necessarily view him more as a running back. I view him more as an open field out pass catcher. I think that they still do need another running back. I think they were counting on Andre Williams to kind of step it up and take more of a role off of Rashad Jennings. And when that didn't happen, I think that they turned to Vereen for that to kind of fill in, but I don't necessarily think that that's going to be Vereen's main role. I think that they're going to have to try to go get somebody else. It's sad for me, too, because I was really high on Andre Williams, too, out of Boston College. I really was hoping that he was going to be able to give that kind of 1-2 punch that they always have had, kind of the ground and pound of the quick and lightning type of thing. And it was a little disappointing for me to not see him step up a little bit more, and he's already had enough where he should be able to do that, and I was a little bit disappointed by him.
Yeah. So what do you list as their major draft needs in the off season?
In to hurry. That's a bugaboo for them for the last couple of years. That defense needs to be fixed a little bit better than what it has been.
What position is are the Giants in for the draft? What draft position do they have?
I don't even know.
I think they're in
sixth. They
sixth.
have right now.
Hang on just a second.
Are they in the top 10?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. That last burst.
They should be in the top 10.
Yeah, that last little burst that Detroit had kicked us out. So I thought.
Yeah.
Oh boy, but we see you guys next year, so that'll be fun. I think actually they travel out to New York to play the Giants next year, so that'll be fun. We get the NFC East, so that'll be fun. I'll be thinking of you.
Yeah.
No, the Ravens are 6th. Let's see, San Francisco 49ers. Oh, shoot, sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
10th. They're 10th.
They're 10th? Okay.
Yeah. Embedded video is the devil.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Always gets you at work, too. But that's another
Oh
story
my
for
gosh,
another day.
I know. That's why I avoid ESPN and NFL.com religiously. But that was the quickest one to pull up. So. Well, the NFC East is seeing, I mean, it's kind of a changing of the guard a little bit. We mentioned the Eagles. They've got a new head coach, Doug Peterson. What did you think about that hire, Pam?
I think anything at this point was going to be better for the Eagles than what they had. There was, it seemed like there was a lot of internally that was going on, and almost didn't matter who they hired. They needed Chip Kelly out of there.
Yeah.
They needed the players to actually want to play for somebody, and
Crazy.
who knows how this is going to work, but I mean, you know, Chip Kelly is far away on the West Coast now, you know.
Can't touch him right now.
Nowhere near anything that the Eagles are going to do, and he can't touch them. It's unfortunate, though, because I feel like he, as far as quarterback-wise, and it's almost like that. I think that a lot of people were expecting more out of Sam Bradford and almost thought he was going to completely turn everything, be somebody that, you know, was going to surprise people this season, Bradford. And now basically I feel like they're kind of in like a dead zone as have Sanchez who can get them kind of where they need to be,
Right.
but I don't think he's going to be their guy either.
Mhm. Yeah, it will be interesting. Doug Peterson, the offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs, there was a little bit of a question, I suppose, how much control, how much offensive play calling that he had, that he did for the Chiefs. Now, he's had some interesting statements on that. It will be interesting to see what they do at the quarterback position. They hired a guy that Sonja and I are both extremely familiar with.
Yes, Mr. Jim Schwartz.
Little Jimmy Schwartz. And
Oh, Jimmy.
Sonja and I had a conversation last night for my podcast, and I forgot to ask her. Some Lions fans are going to always be salty about Jim Schwartz.
They are, I guess. And you know what? Whatever. But a lot of them also that I've seen, they've just been kind of like, yeah, whatever. So, I mean, that is good. And as long as he's not King Douchebag and asked to be carried out in a preseason game again, that was a douche move. I get it, but that was I'm sorry.
It was a Petty Crocker move, is what
it was. It was a Petty Crocker move. And you know what? Okay, if he's going to be Petty Crocker, then yes, Detroit fans are going to be Petty Crocker back. But at the same time, yeah, just let it go. It's okay. A lot of people are kind of glad that he's at least resurfacing. So
yeah, it looks like they're going to go back to the 4-3 defense. That's his bread and butter. Fletcher Cox is extremely happy about that. He's doing his little dance. Yeah. I'm kind of curious to see how many teams, if we might start to see a pendulum swing back to, more 4-3 based defenses, which is the defense that I kind of cut my teeth on that I like too. So interesting. I know Sonja wants to talk a little bit of round ball before we get there. Let's talk about what Super Bowl storyline we're most looking forward to. We sort of touched upon it, but we didn't really couch it in that. Pam, what Super Bowl matchup or storyline are you most looking forward to?
Matchup that I'm actually interested to see if their defense the full force, and if it's that full force, it's going to be that strong Carolina defense versus that Broncos defense. I think that will be something that I'm going to look forward to seeing. And I think that the storyline that they're just going to be pumping out is this is Peyton's last time. This is his last rodeo, his last cowboy run, his last run on a Bronco. However many Western themes you want to use for this, they're going to do, and it's going to be almost like a changing of the guard. Peyton is the last of the old school type of quarterback, and Cam Newton represents the new school. He represents the new NFL. Mm-hmm. I think that's going to be a storyline that they're going to kind of really pump to death too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I do like that old school to new school, and I think that's great because, I mean, honestly, you could pick worse than Cam Newton. I think Cam Newton, if he really, really, truly is to be the face of the new NFL, I mean, he's a pretty good guy. I think, regardless of how you feel about, his celebration and stuff.
A lot of people don't realize how much of a humanitarian he is.
Right. It still is amazing to me that people get their underoos in such a wad over
that people don't even realize. Yeah.
All the celebrations, and it's kind of crazy.
It is, and so but I still think he's a very good, charismatic kind of guy. He does good things in his community, and you can't go wrong, doing that. And I think with all the hits that the NFL has taken these past few years, it's good and refreshing to see that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Very, very, very much so.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Sonja, what about them Golden State Warriors and Mr. Steph Curry?
I just have to take 2 seconds to appreciate greatness. The man is they're balling out there. They are balling out there. And there's nothing you can say. I don't think there's anything left to say. They've proven it all. They won, last year. They've dismantled teams this year. I mean, and you see Steph and Draymond Green sitting out a lot of the fourth quarter, and they're just chill, and they're still up by like 20 and 30 when this happens. So I'm just taking a couple minutes to appreciate greatness. I know a lot of you guys out there are football fans, but yes, I know that you guys do take a few minutes to appreciate basketball too. So I'm appreciating greatness. We saw Tom Brady versus Peyton Manning. Again, greatness versus greatness, regardless of what side you feel about, or regardless of what you feel about either quarterback. Greatness. We're seeing Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors. Greatness. Appreciate it, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, since we're talking about it, I gotta ask Sonja about this. What do you make? And first, before we even get here, let me just say yes, Steph Curry is amazing. The Golden State Warriors are on a tear. I still think my San Antonio Spurs are the better team. But that's just because my Bay plays for it. But I want to ask you about the Cleveland Cavaliers and LeBron James. This report that LeBron James is the one who got his head coach David Blatt fired, and this latest information that he wanted to get the previous coach fired and just wasn't able to get that done. What do you make of all that, Sonja?
One guy named Pat Riley was down there and was not going to let that happen to his coach or his team. He knew he was in charge, and, he had to show it. He had to show that he was in charge. And I think here in Cleveland, you don't have that, which is why David Blatt was able to be fired that quickly and kind of let go without, being in that situation. He's 30-11. They're in first place in the East, a wide open East, and they're still doing great things out there. So I think because they don't have that winning mentality or somebody in the franchise who knows how to win, like a Pat Riley or something like that, that's why that was able to happen. But that's just me. There
was a columnist for which newspaper was it? For the Cleveland Plain Dealer. His name was Peter Krause, who said that the Cleveland Cavaliers should trade LeBron James because he's an egomaniac who's keeping the Cavaliers from being great and standing in their way of winning a championship, which is...
Well, we saw what happened when he left, so...
Yeah, right. I mean... They would not have made the playoffs last year had it not been for LeBron James. Now, I do think that LeBron James is an egomaniac. There's no question in my mind, but that he is. But I mean, he's a superstar. Most superstars are.
Exactly.
And
you can't begrudge him for people doing the things that they've done for him all his life, essentially. So yeah, of course you're going to be. And
he is one of the best to ever play the game, and but it is, there are reports out there that go ahead.
I find it just weird as far as him being an egomaniac. Like, I do agree with that, but I just think it's in a different realm. I think he's an egomaniac that wants to be liked. I mean, when you talk about players and team leadership, and I'm not saying he's not a good team leader, but it's from the coaches out of town coach, but at the same time he lacks that kind of Kobe-esque mentality. He lacks that Jordan-esque mentality. And I'm not competition of comparing LeBron to Jordan, but Michael Jordan didn't care if he was liked. Kobe Bryant doesn't care if he's liked.
Right.
I feel like that's where the fine line is with LeBron James. It's like he wants the responsibility, he wants the leadership, he has that egomaniac mentality, but at the same time he wants to be liked, where Jordan and Kobe didn't give a care if they were. It was about winning. It was about them taking those last shots. It was about them winning championships. And not that LeBron doesn't want to win a championship, but I think that that's what separates Kobe.
And you're a Kobe fan. And I'm not knocking you at all because that's a good thing.
Oh, yes.
That's your boy.
Yeah, Kobe's the reason. Yeah, that's my bae. I love Kobe, and he's the reason why I am a Laker. I didn't get to see the Showtime Lakers. I didn't get to see. I wasn't in that Magic Bird, Kareem type era. Kobe was Laker when I really started paying attention and liking basketball. He's the reason why I'm a Lakers fan. I mean, there's a lot of things that can be said about Kobe Bryant, but I never question his commitment and his passion and his love.
Mm-hmm.
I think I agree with Pam with what Pam said, but I think it's also a little bit more complicated in terms of between Michael Jordan and LeBron. Because as much as I agree with Pam that LeBron does want to be liked, he's also willing to make a stance, at least on occasion, on social issues, which would make him unpopular with some people, whereas Michael Jordan would not do that. Michael Jordan was, in my opinion, a more bottom line kind of guy. He wasn't going to risk his endorsements. He wasn't going to risk his money by making any sort of social political statement back then, back when he was playing in the league. And so yeah, and it's interesting because some of these reports are saying that that Blatt wouldn't hold LeBron accountable for for some of the mistakes that he made for certain things. It's going to be interesting to see how that situation does play out.
Mm-hmm. It is. Yeah. But anyways, thank you guys for indulging me for talking about greatness for a few minutes. I appreciate that.
Nothing wrong with talking a little round ball.
Not at all. Not at all. I love it. Love it.
Yep. All right. Well, we're right at the hour mark, so
Yeah. Let's get ready to get out of here.
Wrap it up.
Pam, thank you so much again for joining us. Mm-hmm. Why don't you tell everybody where we can
thank you.
And where we can listen to you. Pam.
Well, you can find me on Twitter. You can find me on Twitter at Sporty Diva. I do a show every Wednesday night for Inscriba Media Network called Sports Infusion. That's on Blog Talk Radio at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I also do for Voice of Choice Nation on Thursday nights at 10 p.m., which is always a very fun show. And I was interviewed by Man Cave Playbabes magazine, and my story ended up making the front cover of that magazine, so I was pretty happy about that. So you can go check Man Cave Playbabes out for that too. So the Dating Advice show is very fun, though.
Oh yeah, for sure. And everybody, she is not just eye candy; she is very smart as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the best. It's the best. She's the best of both worlds.
Yes.
So again, I'm Sonja.
Oh, thank you guys.
You're welcome. I'm Sonja. I'm the official fan reporter for the Detroit Lions. You can find me on Twitter at mom2 3RN. You can find me writing on NFL Female Pro Football Central. Just talking every day. Sharona.
All right. Well, I'm Sharona. You can follow me on Twitter at Sports by Sharona. You can catch me and Sonja tomorrow afternoon, 2:00 p.m. on my podcast, Back Talk with Sharona. We talk some football. We also talk about what's going on up there in Flint, Michigan, some of the efforts to relieve the water conditions there. We talk about Oscars So White and some other really interesting. It's a long conversation, but it's well worth your time to listen to it. It's great to have Sonja back on. And next week we'll be back with our Super Bowl preview show.
Yes.
Hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be back on Spreecast. The last 2 weeks we've been back on Google Hangout because of some technical issues. We apologize for that. Shout out to Liz as always. for the opportunity. Have a great night. You've been watching the Zone Blitz by NFL Female, and we'll be back next week.